maybe have a mariachi band behind me. I don't know, just some fun stuff. But we're live right now, Wendy Lee Stevenson. It is Money Moves. So welcome. I'm happy to be here. I hope you are too.
Yes, good to be here. I'm freezing, so I might be holding my cup of coffee like this to warm me up.
That's right. We were just talking earlier. So Wendy's family decided to have a real Christmas in July in her house, and I'm apparently in the process of freezing her out and getting her in the ice zone. So me, I like it cold, but that's okay.
I might keep it on 75 in the house personally.
Wow. Okay. I'm more of a 72 kind of guy, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, 75, you're definitely saving some money there. So that's cool. That's kind of what we're talking about. But now, just all kidding aside, today we're going to be talking about, actually, we are talking about saving money. I mentioned that last week. And, Wendy, you and I have talked a little bit about this and, talking to others about how can I save money. And one of the things in financial planning that I hear is, oh, man, I really can't afford to yet, or I'm not making enough money. If they're younger, I'm not really making enough money. I've got plenty of time. You go into the 30s and all of a sudden what happens? Well, you met that special someone, you start having kids. Now I can't afford it because I got a bunch of kids stuff. And then 40 happens.
To have the money I had before I had all the kids.
I know, right? What do they call that? Dinks, double income, no kids, with married couples. And it's, and kids aren't cheap. I'm going to tell you right now. Best thing I ever did in my life, but yeah. But maybe we'll do a whole other show on that. But, just some of those reasons that hold people back and really, in the big scheme of things, it's like anything, right? If there's a will, there's a way. You just got to figure it out.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. A little bit more on saving money. How do I save money on any budget, right? Because the money you save today is going to save your butt tomorrow. Because eventually you're going to run out of steam and don't want to work. Mm-hmm. Or if you're in a physical job, you're going to lose the ability to do what you used to do. My father-in-law built houses for years, and finally his knees just gave out on him. So that you got that physical thing. And let's be honest, you walk into that big box store with the blue and the Sunburst logo, right? The people that greet you when you walk in, they're not smiling. They're not happy. I don't think they really want to be there.
Right.
But they're there because they have to be there. And nobody wants that for later in life. And most of us don't think, that's not going to be me, right? But what happens is, you don't save enough money. And quite frankly, most of us aren't saving enough in America, right? We hear that get a job, do the 401k thing and save 10%. 10% is not going to get it. What the wealthy do is they're saving at least 50%. You're like, oh my God, I can just tune out right now. But you don't have to save 50%. But if you want to be truly wealthy generationally, so, 50% is a great starting point. But how do I get from where I'm at today, wherever you're at today, to be able to save more money? That's kind of the topic today. So what are your thoughts on that? I'm going to grab a drink of water here. So,
well, I am finally in my 40s starting to learn. So
better late than never.
Right. And I was that like, I think a lot of people might be able to relate to this. This is what my life has looked like. A lot of is we save and then something happens. Mm-hmm. And then, right. And then you are like, well, I do have the money. And I think there's two different like mindsets out there. Like my parents are the ones that for them to touch savings is like death. Like they hate it and they don't want to do it for anything. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, I lean more towards, I want to get a new car. That's different. You know what I mean? Like I'm the other extreme. And I think people fall in those and it takes work to get to the middle, And so for me, like I said, in my 40s, I'm finally figuring it out. You know what? It's all about priority.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's not about how much money you have or how much money you are spending, all that. It's about priority. We make the funds work for what we want, just like we make our time work for what we want, right?
Yep. Yeah, so. Exactly. And that's the big thing is priority. And it's also, it has to do with a little bit, and I don't know how old your parents are. How old are your parents roughly?
65.
Okay. So, you look at families that grew up during the Depression, right? I mean, it was like you had that money, you saved it, and they were really leery about putting money in the banks because of what happened during the Great Depression. And, those kids, those people are your parents, our parents, right? And so they were raised with that very stringent, hey, money, money, money. Well, flash forward, you got the Gen X's and the Gen Y. Well, the further we're removed from that now, in 2008, everybody got little, that was my wake up call. Like, whoa, man, I'm never going to let this happen again. But it wasn't obviously the devastation that the Great Depression had. So you still got people that fall into that. They have an emergency fund that's just that. Is this an emergency? Sale on a big screen TV is not an emergency, right? Yeah, you're going to miss the sale, but it's not an emergency. But, you look at people on the other camp, it sounds like the camp you're in, is that whole, well, it's my slush fund. I got it there, but I'm going to do some stuff with it if I need to. And that's okay. But, you really got to look at the risk that you're taking in general. So, how do we build up that nest egg, that wealth? And I'm not just talking about for retirement, folks. When we talk about saving money, it's saving money to become financially independent. Now, most people out there aren't going to be able to be financially independent in the true sense until they retire. But, what the question is, when are you going to retire? I talked to Gen Z, Gen Y, I'm going to retire when I'm 35, 40. It's like, okay, good luck to that. And maybe you
better work hard.
Yeah, but it's all math, right? You take the emotion out of it, the hype out of it. It's all math. And, like I was talking to you before we actually went live today, most of us out there, honestly, can retire today. That's right, folks. You can retire today if you want to. But is it going to be the retirement you want? And the answer is no, of course, right? In most cases, because people just don't have the money in stores or whatever, and they can't afford their house, can't afford the bills. Well, yeah, that's the whole point, right? So, what are you trying to do? And I think the first step in saving more money, before you just start, hey, this isn't going to be a quick answer of just get an extra job or whatever the case may be. The first thing you've got to understand is, where am I trying to go? Right? I mean, What are you trying, like you and I've talked a little bit. I mean, for you to be financially independent, what's that number that you need? Is it $4,000 a month? Is it 5,000? Is it 6,000? Is it 10,000 a month? Is it 15,000? And some people are going, oh my gosh, 15,000. I wish I was making 15 today. Well, it's relevant to everybody, right? It's all perspective.
Looks like the bare minimum is 10,000 a month.
And don't be ashamed of that. I mean, it's just different. You've chosen a different path, and that's okay. Making money, saving money, folks, is okay. Don't let people tell you it's bad. Don't let people tell you it's wrong. It's not. Money is a tool. It's an instrument, and that's it. Okay, don't let him. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, man, I don't know how, I look back on my 30s and I'm like, how did I survive on that? Well, it's the environment you're in, right? And you look at people that are making, maybe 40 or 50,000 a year, looking at somebody making 150. Oh my gosh, they're rich. I'm here to tell you, they're not.
Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, you're not rich, right? And so that middle class, that's where we get lost in money, because we don't really talk about it, which is the whole point of this show. They don't teach us this stuff in schools, which don't even get me started on that, right? And so we're just kind of left kind of floating around like that feather in Forrest Gump, hoping it all works out, right? Mm-hmm. So going back, I'm starting to preach. You got to keep me from the podium here. So looking at where you're trying to get to, what's your goal? Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, you look at, what are you trying to accomplish? So things to consider. How much money are you going to need coming in on a monthly basis for you to be financially independent or retired or whatever the case may be? And I'll talk to a lot of people, Wendy. Do you know what your number is?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll talk to a lot of people. Most of them don't know. They're like, you know what? That's a great question. I've never thought about it. And so you need to decide, okay, is where I'm at today. And if you're in your 20s, maybe early 30s, it's probably not where you want to end up in your retirement years. But if you're in your money-making years, that post 45 to 65, that may not be where you want to be in retirement either. But you've got to ask yourself, and this is one of the misnomers that I hear. I don't want to call it an out-and-out lie, but a misnomer that I hear from financial advisors traditionally is, oh, you'll spend less money in retirement. That is the biggest crock of crap you're going to hear. That is not the case, right?
Like we thought we'd spend less money when we were traveling and didn't have a mortgage or any rent.
How'd that work out?
More money. You have a lot more time on your, with retirement, right? You have a lot more time on your hands. You want to keep yourself busy. So you start doing things. You're going to want to buy a boat or something, or, right? My husband would want a bass boat. in retirement, right? He wants one now.
Yeah, you know what BOAT stands for, right? Bust out another 1,000. So, but that's the point. So you look at retirement. What is retirement? Most expensive day of the week is Saturday. Why? Because of what you just said.
Yeah.
Retirement is every day is a Saturday, right? That's the thing. So, where do you want to go? That's number one thing to consider, right? Number two is how long before you retire. I've got my retirement age set up. I'm going to retire in 20 years. Okay. Now, retire for me is going to be throttle back. I will never stop doing what I do because I get paid to do what I love. So it's not like I'm working. So if you've got that, and you've got to decide that. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I'm checking out. I'm going to sit on the back porch and do whatever I want or whenever I want, or I want to travel the world. Make sure you get some money set up for that. But retirement is not an end date. It's your end date. When do you want to do it? And what does your retirement look like? And whatever it is, don't let anybody tell you it's wrong, right? You just got to figure out how to get there. So number two is how long before you want to retire? So is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? What's the answer there? And number three to consider when you're talking about how much money you want to have coming in each month is inflation. Everybody always forgets inflation. Okay. And there's some great calculators out there that can do what's called forward inflation, because, we can look at historically and the average inflation rate in guys, that's a huge topic of conversation right now because we're getting ready to get hit with major inflation. If you haven't tried to buy wood to do projects at Home Depot or Lowe's yet, it's way expensive. And there's a lot of other stuff that's out there. The prices are going through the roof right now. Inflation is anticipated. The white paper I read from Bank of America, it's 6% best case next year, 6%. Worst case, 25% hyperinflation. Okay, so that's scary. I don't know that it'll get that bad. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but stuff you got to consider. But you look at the average inflation rate, say it's 2.5%. Well, if I have, say my target is $7,000 in income goal, and I'm going to retire in 20 years, well, I don't need $7,000 coming in 20 years. I need $14,500 coming in 20 years. So that's going to play major in how much you need to kind of put away. So think about that. I mean, $7,000. What I mean by that, folks, if you're not familiar with inflation, is the buying power that money has. The dollar is still the dollar, right? It's a $1 bill in your bank. 20 years from now, you pull it out. It's still the same $1 bill, but what does it buy?
Right.
So in order to have the same buying power,
style that 7,000 would buy today, it's going to require 14,000.
14,000. I mean, it's just the natural. It's you start adding in, severe inflation or hyperinflation, then it gets really scary. You've seen that in other countries happening. Venezuela, you look at that, what's going on down there, and there have been other countries as well, but that's kind of the most recent one. So that's the number one is, understanding where you're trying to go to, where you're trying to get to. Okay. What's your number? Add it up. Add in Social Security. If you're a Gen Xer or maybe even Gen Y, you're going to see something. I don't think, a lot of people, Social Security is going to go bankrupt. I don't think it'll go bankrupt. What they'll do is just print more and more money. And they'll give you whatever they tell you they're going to give you, but it won't buy crap, right? So, that's going to be like the cherry on top as far as your income. But, you look at that and also where is that money going to come from? Looking at taxes. Okay. So there's a lot to consider, but the first thing you got to start with is how much money do you need?
Yeah.
Right? Yep. So the second piece is the taking control of your money, right? I mean, you talk to most people, I don't know, do you feel like you're in control of your money most days?
I'm working on it.
Exactly. We all are, right? I'm the same way. And this is what I do for a living.
I got 2 kids in college.
Yeah. Okay. I've got one headed out next month. That'll be my second one in college. I got 2 at the same time too. I'm like, okay. Fortunately, we tucked a little bit back, but it's like, man, they're not cheap.
Remember when we thought diapers and formula was expensive, and now I'm like, oh, that's cute.
I know, right? For you young couples out there looking to have a family, best thing you'll ever do in your life, but plan accordingly. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is plan accordingly. And start saving. If you're, the best time to start saving for college is when you're pregnant, right? But it all works out in the end. It usually does, one way or another. But yeah, I can remember that first formula. Oh my gosh, it was like $20 for a can or something like that, and I think it's like twice that now.
Yeah, so it's just great. So side note, college, right? I'm thinking tuition. Well, no, then there's parking passes and meal plans and books. And then I don't have time to get a job, so I also need money for everything else in my life and my gas and my car insurance Anyway.
Yep. No, that's a great thing. We'll do a topic on college planning. That's a great topic. So we'll do a future one on that. So anyway, getting back to taking control of your money, number one, and I've said this once, I'll say it 1,000 times, and I know everybody's like, I don't want to do that. It's the budget, right? You got to do a budget. A budget is the cornerstone of you being in control of your money. Okay, and it doesn't have to be something in depth or whatever. There's a lot of great tools out there. Two that I recommend. One is Dave Ramsey. I'm a huge fan of Dave Ramsey, right? I agree with about 85% of what he says. Some of his stuff's dated, but it's solid information. He's got an app out there from the Lampo Group called Every Dollar. Okay, and it's a great, simple app. It's basically the envelope system digitized. And if you're looking for a very simple budget, that's a great app. Now, if you're looking for some a little more in depth, a lot more bells and whistles, that's really in depth and syncs everything and actually syncs to your phone, it's mint.com, mint.com. I'll put these links in the comments when we wrap up. But that's another great tool, and it's free. Mm-hmm. The key about a budget, and I want to be clear on this, it's not keeping track of what you spent. Okay, it's not keeping track of what you spent. And that's what most of us are taught. Keep track of what you spent. No. A budget is you being intentional about what you're going to spend in each category before you spend it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's one of the big, when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, no wonder I can't get ahead. I'm just keeping track of that money running out the door. Right. I know you and I have talked about budgets in the past and things like that. But the other thing about a budget is pay yourself first, saving for that emergency fund, saving for that retirement or wealth building, right? Mm-hmm. Getting out of debt. That's another one that's kind of got to be up there as well. But, that budget is the key, and give yourself a break. If you start a budget and you blow it the first month, that's okay. That's the learning process, right? Don't give up. Okay. Because once you get it a couple of 3 months, I spent about an hour and a half last week walking through Mint with some clients of mine. They tried it a couple times, just couldn't get it going. And it was very intimidating to them. And I get it. And we spent an hour and a half on a Zoom going through how to set up Mint for them. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And now they're in a situation where the second point on taking control, they're able to pay off a ton of debt too. Mm. Okay. Yeah. Myself personally, my wife and I, we had $60,000 in unsecured debt. I don't like to admit that, but I share that because I've been there, folks. I know what's going on out there. I don't know. Have you ever had any issues with that, or when you're in college or whatever?
I've never done a lot with credit card debt. No. One car, that's a story for another day, but the car I got for free from my business. Yeah. So that's really been that, student loans and back owed taxes.
Yeah, no, I get it, right?
I'll tell my whole story one day on how to not get in trouble with tax debt. But yeah, that's it. I've never been a credit card person. I think when I was in my 20s, I got the limited store credit card, and I had a $2,000 limit. Mm-hmm. But this is back when I made good money and I only had 2 little kids. And I think I maxed it out once and was like, oh no. And then I paid it off. But that's the most I've ever really had in credit card debt.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
I'm reading a book right now. It's called 6 Months to Six Figures. Great book, by the way. And I'm coaching my team on, hey, how to have this mindset. And one of the things it talks about is how you think about money. And there are, I may be misquoting, but read the book. 17% of Americans live in a situation where it's not paycheck to paycheck. They're actually living off of credit cards to make it through the month. Yeah. And making those minimum payments. And so they're digging a hole for themselves. But if you've got credit card debt, and this is another thing that, Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, those groups are awesome about this, is the debt snowball. And that's what my wife and I did. And a lot of people don't understand the debt snowball either. But there's some great resources out there where, you stack your bills smallest to tallest, right? As far as balances, pay off the smallest one first. And that's called the snowball. There's another one called the avalanche. I like the snowball better because you get those little endorphin rushes when you take out those little ones.
It feels good to pay them off, that's for sure. Yeah.
I tell you what, you look in the rearview mirror and all that debt is gone. Oh my gosh. But what that does is now enables you to put that money towards your savings. How do I save more money? Okay. So that's another one. Budget, getting control of where your money's going, because a lot of it's bleeding out of the bucket, right? You got holes in your bucket through grabbing Starbucks or, oh yeah, let's just stop out for dinner. We're out with the kids. I don't want to go home and cook or whatever the case may be. And you've got to understand, you've got to get control of that. Not that you have to stop doing it. You just got to understand what you've budgeted for and stick to your budget. Stop paying stop financing stuff, the credit cards, the 12-month savings cash you're not going to pay off in 12 months or whatever the case may be. You have discipline to pay it off, use other people's money, OPM, all about it, right? But if you're going to rack up that debt and it's not going to go away, do not use it. And number 3, and this is the big one that's more of the 21st century, stop the subscriptions. Stop subscribing to stuff through your Facebook or whatever, or PayPal. Oh yeah, that sounds cool. That free trial for 7 days. The reason they give it to you for 7 days for free, because they know you're going to forget about it and they're going to hit you with it.
Yep. Right? And I have a tip for that too, because now subscriptions have gotten me. Like all of a sudden I'm like, where's all my money going? Mm-hmm. And I go and I look through. In fact, I just this morning went through, and one thing I realized was happening is now some of these subscriptions I need and I use for business.
Yeah.
I was having them pull from my PayPal account.
Yep.
So it just comes through my bank statement as PayPal. I really don't know what it is, right? And so today I did a couple things. I went through all my subscriptions and said, what do I actually need? Because I don't need Netflix, Hulu, and Prime Video, right? You don't need it. Now, granted, I'm like, Hulu's only $7. Hey, guess what? It's $7. I actually have to make $14 to pay the $7. So, because I only keep 50% of my money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, is it worth it? No, it's not. So I got rid of some subscriptions today, but I moved everything to my Venmo account that was personal subscriptions. So like Prime Video and things like that, so that I actually have to have money in my Venmo account for it to pay or it cancels itself or sends me an alert. Because what happens is those go automatically when you have them pull them from your bank account or your PayPal. It goes automatically and you don't even know it's doing it.
Exactly.
But if you put it on a low limit credit card or a Venmo account or something where like mine will decline. I have a Venmo credit card that's $200 limit. I don't really put anything on there.
That's a great way to manage it.
Subscriptions on it. And then I'll pay it off and I'll be like, do I really want to keep paying $150 a month for these subscriptions? That kind of thing,
Exactly. And these are the little tips and tricks that, you can use to discipline yourself, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, because I think about it, you're right. It's $7, right? Mm-hmm. $7 a month or whatever. And we've got, I'm embarrassed to say how many subscriptions we have. Peacock is a necessity because of Yellowstone. I'm just going to throw that out there, right? But it's one of those things that, you start looking at this other stuff and it's like, okay, hey, wait a minute, do I really need that? I mean, I had one that I'd signed up for. I was out, hiking, and I was like, oh, what kind of tree is this? And I got on the Facebook group. Somebody said, oh, there's this app. I'm like, cool, 7-day free subscription. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, oh yeah, when I get home, I'll turn it off or whatever. Guess what? I forgot to turn it off.
Yeah.
$49. I got hit for $50, and I'm like, holy crap, man. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, I didn't really, and they said, well, you gave you the 7-day trial, you didn't turn it off. I'm like, all right. So I owned up to it, but I turned it off after that. I said, cancel it, don't renew it.
Yeah.
Because they're set on auto renew. And that will drain a bucket dry, right? So again, take a look at the subscription. Do exactly what Wendy just said. Do you need it? That's the first question. Mm-hmm. And the second one is, figure out a way to put it all in a bundle like that, because $7 here, $8 here, $15 there, not a big deal. Yeah. $200 a month for entertainment.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Another thing that I was just thinking and then it left me. What was it? Oh, for the subscriptions that I legit need for my business, like my email service provider, right? At the beginning of this year, I decided I hate paying every month. I hate putting it in my monthly budget, right? Yeah. But I have like a spending category for marketing in my budget for my business. And so that month I put a certain percentage and I had enough money to just pay the annual fee. I'm paying the whole thing up front. Most of the times you get a discount when you pay in full. And then you're not having that ding every single month. And then in a year, you get to evaluate, is this worth $250 this year or is it not? Did I use it? To me, that took a lot of stress off because those automatic payments, even when they're small, like it's really hard to know where your money's going when that happens all the time, in my opinion.
Yep, it is. It is.
And so I love with my business ones that I know I need this. I know I need my email service provider. Annual fee done.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you end up saving money in the big picture. So it's a great idea. And it teaches you, again, that forced discipline to get into this. And that's what all this is, guys. It's not a situation where you got to be overnight, right? You're not going to be an expert overnight in how to manage your money and stuff like that. But it's these baby steps. You know, I was at a networking group. Somebody referenced the What About Bob in that book he wrote, Baby Steps. Well, this is the same thing, baby steps in financial, literacy. So, number 2, that's that take control of your money. Number 3, the third point, determine your income status. Okay. And what do I mean by that? Well, we're trying to figure out how to save more money. How do I do that on any budget, right? So you look at it, you've got to determine, do I have an unlimited resource of money, which a lot of people do, believe it or not, or do I have a limited source of money? And that's where you're typically going to be in my JOB, right? I work a day job. I work 40 hours a week. My salary or my hourly is X. I work 40 hours a week. That's it. And especially if you're in a salary, you can even work 50 hours a week and you still get the same X. You don't get any overtime on that. At least with hourly, you get some kind of overtime. Whole other conversation. But you've got to decide, okay, am I in that situation, or am I in a situation like you and I are in, where I can go out and I have no cap on my income. I can just go out and do more. I can build a bigger organization, or I can go out and, help more clients sit down and do their financial, assessments and things like that. My clients don't pay me anything, but the companies I work with, they're the ones I figure they can afford it. Why don't we make them pay rather than my clients? So, that's what we do. So I can go out and help more families. So that's, to me, is an unlimited resource, up to the point where I can only work so many hours in a week, right? There's only so many hours in a day, but that's a big determination of where you need to figure out, okay, my income stream, is it unlimited or is it limited? Okay. Any comments on that?
Yeah. I think everyone should have at least one income stream that you don't have a cap.
Yep.
And we did a different episode on that where, there's so many different ways to make money, you guys.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend of mine. She's doing a 5-day boot camp on one of the social media platforms that she's crushing it on right now. And like a 5-day boot camp for $27 online. She's doing it. She's going to work for 5 days and she's making a killing off of it. Just sharing things she knows. You guys, there's so much money to be made online. Just sharing what you already know.
Legitimate ways to make money online. Just throw that little caveat in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. If you're sitting there thinking there's no way for me to make money, you're lying to yourself. Yeah. And you may not be lying to yourself in a malicious sense. It's more of, I just don't know.
Yeah.
So find somebody, find some mentors, side hustle, find a side hustle or something like that. Get some mentors around. It will be your mentor. Come and join us. You're guaranteed to learn more about money and how to make it. That's what this whole show is about, right? How do I make money? How do I save more money? How do I grow my money? And how do I protect it from, market loss or taxes and stuff like that? And that's the other thing. You made a comment about a side stream of income. I look at it from, yes, you should, but the reason is of the tax benefits to enable you to keep more of your money. Because if you have a side income and you're making a little bit of money, it doesn't have to be huge money. You get so many more tax write-offs to keep more of your day job money, right? You can control your taxes just like you do your debts to some degree. Okay, but most of us don't realize that on how you do it. So that last step is, am I capped or limited on my income? And then also, how can I make more money? And then apply that, to your goals. So, there are, again, a lot of different ways to make money, but you've got to determine those 3 steps. So just to recap, as we're wrapping up here, how do I save more money? Well, first of all, I got to figure out where I'm going. Okay. And this is the goal, the financial goal. What am I trying to hit in retirement? And there's some things I gave you to consider there. If you missed it, go back and re-listen to this. Number 2 is take control of the money you are making. Okay. That's where the budgeting comes in, getting rid of the debt, right? Getting rid of those subscriptions. And then number 3 is determine what your income status is, the source of money you have. Can I do it on that, or do I need to bring in some additional sources of income? And the average millionaire, folks, has 7 streams of income. So, if you're trying to make it on one, maybe that's a problem. That's a challenge. So, with that, if you've got some questions on this, because we talked a lot today, post them out there. I'll go back and answer as well, kind of respond. So will Wendy And then Wendy, I don't know, do you have anything else to add? I've got one book I want to mention to everybody, but I wanted to come back to you first.
No, I mean, I think those are great tips and definitely a place to get started. And I would say, whoever's watching this, I don't care how young you are, like get started now. Yeah. And the future sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It goes quick, guys. It goes quick. I still think I'm 27. I look in the mirror and there's my dad. I'm like, what happened there? It happened, right? But, don't feel like you've got to do this alone. Go talk to somebody. If you need help, hit me up on, at Black Swan Money or whatever. I'll be more than happy to walk you through a free financial strategy to figure out where are you trying to go. You may not even know. A book I want to recommend is by a local author by the name of Tony Bradshaw. I'll hold that up right there. The Millionaire Choice by Tony Bradshaw. Awesome, awesome book. He's an awesome guy. He actually interviewed me for his podcast. But it was, a great experience. And it's a quality book on just the mindset, on the decisions he made to achieve millionaire status. And, you can do the same thing. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your income is today. You can get there. It's just you've got to have a plan of action and take steps. So, again, that's it for today. We'll come up next Tuesday. Share this with your friends. Help us out. Show some love, right? Give us a like at Black Swan Money. And, obviously Wendy's out there too, Wendy Lee Online. But let's try to grow this. The whole goal of this, again, is to share that wealth that we didn't get in school.
Yep.
Try to teach others how money works. So, again, thanks. Hope to see you next week. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.